Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're at there, EXP agents. My name is Wilson Solomon. I am a enterprise customer success manager here at Lofty for EXP. I have Lauren Dunleavy as well joining me. She's one of our senior onboarding specialists at Lofty. A lot of product knowledge. I had her join me just specifically given that we're going to be getting into what are called smart plans within Lofty. Smart plans are an automated you could say an automated feature within Lofty to allow you to create, automated follow-up drip campaigns, workflow automation. Lauren's essentially going to kind of take us through the ins and outs of how smart plans work within Lofty, what kinds of things you can do within those automated campaigns. So we'll jump into that here shortly. But just want to ultimately welcome everybody from the EXP side. Do appreciate you joining us for the CRM of choice call with Lofty. We'll jump into that. We'll also have questions rolling in through EXP World. I'll be monitoring those as best I can and answering those during the presentation. If you have specific questions around smart plans, feel free to drop them in there. Any that I can answer directly via the chat, I will. And if there's anything I can lean on Lauren for as far as answering and kind of maybe taking us through something she just showed, we'll try to be interactive in answering questions as best we can that way as well. So I, again, appreciate everybody joining. It looks like we have a solid group here today from the EXP side. And yeah, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Lauren, to get into some smart plans.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Wilson. I appreciate it. Hello again, everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm an onboarding specialist here at Lofty. And yeah, exactly what Wilson said. We're just going to be going through pretty much everything regarding smart plans, how it's going to work for, your own standardization for your offices, how it works for drip campaigns, as well as workflow automations. So with further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. So the smart plan, or, as you might be familiar with it, drip campaigns, I've heard a lot of people refer to it that way. We call them smart plans just because there are so many different things that you can do within a single plan, not only drips, but also those workflow automations kind of simultaneously. So you are going to find your smart plans directly within your marketing tab right on the top here of your main Lofty navigation. So with smart plans, while you do have the power to, create your own standardized ones for, EXP, we also offer a lot of ones that are readily available directly within our Lofty library. So if you ever need just like a general idea of the different campaigns that we offer, this is a great resource to utilize in terms of just, again, what they can do, editing them to look at the different capabilities of the steps that can be taken within a smart plan. So what we got going on here, starting from just this main screen here, we have our smart plans normally divvied out into 3 different tabs, but for you guys, it's going to be 4 because you also have this office one here. So for the My Smart Plans, these are going to be smart plans that are going to be dedicated to just the, agent or user for the current seat that they're signed in on. So if you guys have your own, drip campaigns or automations that you would like to utilize just on your seat, you can store those smart plans here directly so that no one else can use them. Same thing goes into office smart plans. This would just be dedicated to the office itself. And then company smart plans are going to be company-wide drip campaigns and automations available to everyone under the EXP umbrella. And then we do have some here that are just kind of, again, used for reference. If you want to import them to your own account, you absolutely can. So if you do find yourself within the Lofty Smart Plan library, you can filter these by, plan type, lead type, scenario. You are going to find a pretty ample amount of smart plans in the kind of top lead types here, like other, seller, buyer, renter. These last 4 here, investor, agent, homeowner, landlord, these were newer lead types that have been added into the system very recently. So Wilson, I'm not sure if we do have plans to add in smart plans to the library for those types. I'm not sure if like that's something that you might be aware of, but I imagine if they're added in as a lead type, we'll probably have some smart plans coming in eventually for the library itself.
We'll continue to work. Now, it's a good question. We'll continue to work with the EXP side and see as this gets closer to the go live launch date, and if there's some specific things we need to bring over for new agents onboarding with EXP and Lofty, we'll make sure they have it for sure.
Absolutely. Now, if you guys are also going to be using the AI sales assistant, which is another really powerful AI tool within Lofty, we do have follow-up campaigns that are associated with the Lofty AI assistant as well. And the reason why that we have these follow-up campaigns is because, there is an allotment in which the AI works with so that it's not, continuously reaching out to the same lead that's going to be unresponsive. So if if a lead responds, hey, like I'm just looking, or I already have an agent or something like that, then the AI sales assistant can then put them on one of these follow-up campaigns so that it is not then, continuously exhausting its resources trying to get in correspondence with that lead. Now, if you guys are interested in just checking out the smart plans that are within our library, just to, again, see what they're all about, you don't have to directly import them to your account to see what they do. You could just click directly on the plan name itself. So here's that buyer no response AI one that is implemented after the AI assistant follows up with a lead. And it'll open up a window just giving you the step-by-step communication that is going to be sent out to that lead and what that time frame is going to be. So starting at the top, we have our target lead type, which is going to be buyer. After 3 days, we have this auto text that's going to go out. Another 3 days, we have an auto email. 7 days, another auto email, and then, so on and so forth. So if you want to check out, exactly what type of verbiage is contained in these smart plans, maybe one starting out might be beneficial for you, just to make some like minor adjustments to an existing plan. We do have a lot of clients that do that as well. And then if you do want to actually import it to your account, you could just hit this blue import button. And it's actually going to take you to the settings of this smart plan. So the back end section here, because again, this is going to give you an opportunity to make any sort of adjustments that you would need for this plan. And there are some plans that do require you to plug in certain information before actually saving them. So some items might be like putting in a pipeline or a tag. And the reason for that is just because of the customization capability. We're not going to assume what pipeline or tag you're going to be applying to a particular lead if they apply to this plan. So you will get a message if you try to save saying like, hey, you need to put in a pipeline or put in a, tag or what have you. So I'm going to go over all these settings once we actually get into creating your own. But just to kind of quickly show you, we have these 3 tabs up here pertaining to this buyer no response smart plan. General settings that you can configure if you want to change the actual trigger conditions of this particular plan. So how this plan will be automatically applied to a lead. And then finally, the actions, which are the actual steps that are going to be going out for this particular plan. So again, if you want to change, maybe you feel like 3 days is too long, you could absolutely change that to 1 day, 2 days, however long you'd like. You could even do it by hours or minutes. So, but really, the kind of main thing of this is going to be creating your own, essentially. So you can create your own smart plans and your own drip campaigns pretty seamlessly. We try to make it as easy as possible with our own, fields within the system. Any custom fields that you might create within the system as well at the time of your lead import, we can also base smart plans off of as well. So when you click on Add New, you're going to be presented with a menu here just to kind of have you choose between essentially two different types of smart plans. So we have our standard plan, which is just the, non-reoccurring, once it's done kind of plan. And then we have the reoccurring ones, which is generally going to be, holidays are going to be a big one. You could do it based off of, let me move that, transaction date. So as you are plugging in information into your transactions tab, you can create smart plans based off of those dates, as well as, well, there's no lead information, so, but here, this is where you can find actual lead dates, including any custom field lead dates. So this would be something like a home anniversary. If you created a custom field for like a wedding anniversary, you could do that as well. Essentially, any date that is the date data label in your custom field can be used for this section. But this will make a lot more sense once there's actually lead data in the account. It'll actually propagate this list here. For now, I'm just going to show you guys the standard non-reoccurring plan. And it's going to take us to that same setting screen when we, first started editing one of these smart plans. So starting from the top, we are going to go ahead and name this plan. We're going to go ahead and select our target lead types. Now, when I normally do my onboarding trainings for smart plans, I do stress this target lead type section quite a bit because there is a lot of confusion surrounding it. So for example, let's say we are creating a drip campaign that can be used for any type of lead. It's going to be general, so it doesn't have to be for, specifically for buyer or seller. So let's say we could do buyer, seller, renter, and other, because again, it could be applied to anyone. Now, if we were to, we have three different options here. We have include all, include one of, and equals to. Now, in the case of smart plans, include all and equals to are going to be essentially the same thing. Whereas if I were to select include all or equals to, if I were to have a lead come into the system, they would have to be marked as a buyer and a seller and a renter and other in order to actually have that plan applied. So if you're making a plan that could be applied to any number of leads, you want to make sure to do the include one of, because that way, if a lead comes in as a buyer or a seller or a renter or marked as other, then this plan will apply to them no matter what. Now your plan scope, this is where we're actually going to select what bucket essentially to put this plan into. Is this going to be a plan that only you, the agent on the seat, is going to be utilizing? Is this a plan that your entire office is going to be utilizing? And then you'll select your office here. Or is this going to be a company-wide EXP plan that is standardized? It's going to be used across the entire, company. And then depending on which, section you choose, there are going to be some additional selections, such as the office plan, whether or not you want to apply the same plan to your lead pond leads. This is a section that you'll need to select just because generally the leads that are going to be in your Lofty lead pond are going to be unassigned. So you do need to make that selection that says, okay, I'm fine with the smart plan applying to my lead pond leads, because then there's actually going to be someone associated with that correspondence. So as we go into our settings, we're going to go into our auto apply settings now. So how do we want this plan to actually be auto applied? Before we had a preset condition that we just needed to plug some general information to, but now we're presented with pretty much every single trigger condition within Lofty. So whether that's when a lead is newly created and first put into Lofty, maybe a lead assignment has changed. Maybe you have an assistant that might pre-qualify your leads for you and then assign it to you after the fact. Tag change is going to be great, especially if you utilize our landing pages and create, custom forms that have those backend tags that can be applied via that form. So when someone then fills out that form, that tag is applied, they can then be put on a corresponding smart plan to continue that follow-up. Segment changed, pipeline changed, those are going to be kind of more of the workflow items. Lead meets specified conditions is a great semi-catch-all for your smart plans. Website behavior is great for general follow-ups for leads that maybe are looking at listings, like the same listing multiple times, showing high interest. Maybe they have submitted a form, request a showing, a request a home valuation. So at this time, this list, at least for, I'm not sure if tech is going to be doing, an exception for EXP, Wilson, but right now this list cannot be customized, but we might be able to do that.
Yeah, as far as I know, that hasn't been something that we're doing in the EXP instance for the go live launch, but that's still an option, still something being discussed probably between Lofty and EXP as far as needs of the agents. But
Gotcha. But we do have some great starting points at the very least. So again, leave a message, request a showing, all that good stuff. So we are going to go ahead and just go with the lead meets specified conditions, because again, this is going to be kind of like the more general, maybe you want to have this smart plan change or start as soon as like the pipeline changes. Maybe the time frame or even their lead score has gone up quite a bit. Lead score is something that we calculate internally within Lofty, depending on the amount of information that they've provided during registration, if they've been communicative, if they have been on the website pretty often, then you'll see those lead scores kind of go up in a gradient of gray to green. So maybe we want to say, when the pipeline is changed to nurture cold, then we want this pipeline to kick off, or really whatever, pipeline that you customize. Our pipelines are completely customizable. So you can input whatever you'd like for this nurture cold or whatever other pipeline that you have. Once you set your trigger conditions, you'll just hit that auto apply. And once you actually have leads in the system, over here in this left-hand corner, it will show you the expected amount of leads if you decide to backlog that information that this plan will be applied to, and also how long that will take. Going back to our settings, next we have our auto reapply. So this is going to be kind of dependent on the plan that you're creating or might have imported from the library. Some plans can be auto reapplied where it makes sense. Some others might not make a whole lot of sense to auto reapply. And what auto reapply would mean is if this lead were to be moved out of the nurture cold pipeline, for example, because they've responded to something or what have you, and then I put them back into nurture cold, which is then re-triggering the smart plan, it'll instead start that plan from the very beginning and then run its course instead of, either not running again because it's already been completed or picking up where it left off. And then, of course, we have our auto pause options. So you can manually pause smart plans however you'd like. But if you'd also like an auto pause option, we do have some options like when an outbound call is logged as talked, maybe when the lead pipeline changes. And then depending on what you select, there will also be some follow-ups to that. If the lead responds or reaches out, maybe you want them to be automatically moved into an attempted contact pipeline. So now that these settings and trigger conditions have been set, next are going to be those actions. So there will always be the one step here just to kind of get you started. So just kind of starting from the left over, first we have our time frame. So when do you want this first step to actually start? Is it going to be immediately when the smart plan is applied or initiated? Do you want it to wait a couple of hours or a couple of minutes or even within a time frame? And then, of course, there is the day option, which is great for the more like long-term nurture cold plans that we have. And then we also have an act at time. If, maybe you don't want an email to go out at 3 a.m., you can set an acting time so that it's in, your working hours. So really the main part of the smart plan though is going to be this drop down menu here, because this is where you're going to be able to see all of the different steps that we have in terms of smart plan automations. Your auto email and your auto text are going to be actual email and text that are going to be sent out to that lead, not to be confused with the normal email and text options here at the bottom, or right below that rather. These are going to be more so just tasks saying, hey, send an email to your lead. Maybe it's just a quick like ad hoc check-in that you don't need, an auto email for. You want to make it more personable. So email and text are going to be tasks as well as call. We have postcard and letter options. So as long as there is a valid mailing address on your lead profile, you can send out this postcard automatically. And we do have tons of designs available within our design center, but you can also utilize your own templates that you create, whether that's from a third-party source or directly within the Lofty Design Center. Then you'll select your delivery options, return address, same option with the letter here. Notification is going to be an email notification that'll be sent to you. We also have the Zapier Zap. So if you utilize Zapier for any other third-party connections, you can also implement that within your smart plan as well. And this is something that, your onboarding specialist will be able to assist you with as well. So don't feel like you have to do this all yourself. Now you're changing pipeline, changing segment, changing tag. Those are going to be your workflow automations. You can have a change pipeline, change tag anywhere within the steps of your smart plan, whether that's the first step, the fifth step, or the very last step. You can also start another smart plan from a smart plan. So obviously, I would probably advise this being the last step that you guys implement on here, but you can kickstart another smart plan at the end. So if you want to have another follow-up campaign that goes out, you can also put that as your last step. So as soon as this smart plan is done running, it's going to immediately start the next one. Your buyer property alert is great if you have any sort of leads that maybe you've bought. Maybe there's not a whole lot of information contained in those leads. So maybe they don't have any search criteria in place for them. Setting some buyer property alert criteria is going to at least blanket that information to get them over to your website and begin searching. So as that lead continues to search on the website, that blanketed criteria will be dynamically updated with their actual search criteria that they're searching with. You can implement a checklist as well. We also have transaction checklists. So if you want to utilize this one for a more kind of internal, more simplistic checklist, we have this option. And then there is the transaction checklist as well.
Hey, Lauren, I have a quick question from the chat that's not necessarily directly related to smart plans, but Nikki in the chat was asking, just in regards, and I've seen some of this myself inside Lofty, if you have, say, some contacts in there, or, leads in there that are set up as individual contacts, and you want to link those, say, their spouses. I believe we have that feature within just general lead settings where you can link the two contacts. Is that something Lofty offers?
So we do have the option to add in associated family members. I'm not sure if, and we can definitely do this as an example, if you were to have like two separate lead profiles that you can then like merge and link. But we do have the option to, where is it? add in that family member. So now I'm going to see. Yeah, it doesn't look like there is an option to just say like, okay, link these two leads together. If they're two separate lead profiles, but you can absolutely add the family member directly onto
To
this
another
lead
existing one.
profile and then
Okay.
to another existing one. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Which that was
So
kind of the
then,
question
yeah,
from Nikki. Yeah, she was curious if it was like separate and they were linked, or if it was like, hey, one record, and then you could put the associated spouse within that record, and that's what you're saying it does, right?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And
Cool.
once you actually have a family member linked, there are options within the smart plans as well to CC family members directly within the step itself. So that way you don't have to manually go back and then, CC the family member. It'll be done automatically directly within that plan.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yep. So there's this checkbox option right underneath that email subject.
Perfect.
All right. So we have, yeah, absolutely. So we also have our assigned to options. Now, the assigned to section here is going to be based off of any agent roles or roles in general that you create within your settings. And the agent role section affects a couple of different places within the system. So it'll take any role that you create, put them in this assigned to list so that you can assign it to them. It'll create a new point of contact in your transaction section if they need to be assigned as a point of contact. It will create a new assigned to section directly on the lead profile. So if you need, transaction coordinator assigned to that, maybe you have a marketing coordinator or something like that, you can assign them directly to that lead as well. And then finally, lead routing. You can break out lead routing by agent roles as well. Now, in terms of the auto email, which I'm going to be going over specifically, since that's kind of like the bread and butter of the smart plans is the auto email and auto text. You can input an existing template that you've created into a smart plan as well. And the reason why this is a really great option is because, and this might be a feature that's coming to smart plans soon, but in your email templates, it's going to be in your settings, email. We're going to go to email templates. Select a folder. We're going to add templates. We have a drag and drop email editor, which is great if you're just not a fan of like the rich text classic email editor that's within the smart plans. The drag and drop is going to be a lot more dynamic and a lot more visual in terms of building out, newsletters, nice email blasts, things like that. So if you want to utilize the drag and drop, I would advise doing so within the email template section first, because then you can save that template and then just input that directly into your smart plan section. Now, we also have variables, and the way that variables work are going to vary greatly between CRM and CRMs. Some use hashtags to grab variables, some use tildes, brackets, underscores. So it really just kind of depends on how, their system grabs data from, different aspects of the system. We utilize the hashtags. So let's say I wanted to add in a lead first name variable. I could just click on my variable menu, click on that first name, and then you can see here in hashtags lead first name. And what this would mean is any lead that I send this email to, that lead first name field is going to be replaced with whatever they have in that first name section on their lead profile. So if this were being sent to me, for example, that lead first name section would instead change to Lauren. And same goes for the email body. And we offer a lot of different variables, including any custom fields that you create. So if you do need to, do any sort of follow-up or grab information from your custom fields, they will live, I found kind of under the buyer section, since it's kind of in alphabetical order, but you can grab pretty much any piece of information from the system as a variable to place into a smart plan. So family member first name, for example, for associated family members, seller information, pretty much all the buyer information. We have agent variables as well, and this will also include any agent roles that you create. So as you create agent roles, this will be also added to the list. So if you do need to grab that information, that will be automatically created for you here. Your listing variables are going to come from kind of that same criteria for the website behavior section that we looked at. So, latest saved listing, maybe they viewed a listing 3 or more times, showing high interest. Maybe they left a message. So, inputting this will just grab whatever that latest information is. Transaction variables, again, any information that you put into your transaction tab can be propagated here via their variable. And that'll include, again, any agent rules that you create within your settings. And then we've also just recently added in general variables. So time of day, day of week, month, season. So if you just need some kind of like general, day of week, like Tuesday or something, you can also add that in as well. Now for the rich text box, you can pretty much do anything inside of this rich text box. You can change your font, you can make it pretty, you can change the color, input a photo. If you have a BombBomb integration, you can also include a BombBomb video, embedded YouTube video, and even a listing widget. If you're sending out, some specific listing information to, a group of people, you can also include specific listings. Then once you're done with, composing, editing, what have you, your next, the step here, you'll just do add a step. And then go through the same process, change your time frame. What do you want your next step to be? Is it going to be another auto email, another auto text, or is it going to be a workflow automation? And Wilson, that's essentially it. I mean, in terms of smart plans, was there anything else that you wanted me to go over?
Not necessarily. I know we had that was great. I appreciate you going through that. One of the questions earlier in the chat was just, and you kind of touched on this through some of the smart plan stuff you showed, but they were just asking about, typically these are built, template wise through emails and things. Someone would just asked about texting, like how much texting functionality or SMS is used within smart plans and maybe how it's used. But I think you touched on that maybe a little bit after the question came through.
Yeah, and I can absolutely go into that more in depth. So with the auto text option, absolutely an option. The only thing is that even though it's going to kind of depend on the lead's cell phone carrier and their own phone, we do have this character limit set here. However, that's more so just like a guide. If you are sending to someone that has like an Android or an iPhone, that's all going to be sent in one, text as normal. But we do have that broken out here just in case, because there are still some devices out there that have that character limit. So that's kind of more so just an FYI if you do see those texts broken up for whatever reason. But just like emails, you can implement text templates, that you've created, as well as adding in any additional variables, just like the emails.
Perfect. And this question may be a little bit, it's unrelated to the smart plans, and I can maybe follow up with George too if we don't know. But he's asking, in setting up a property search for a lead, Lofty does not separate between a bungalow, single family house, and a condominium. For leads that don't want to look for condos or vice versa, when will Lofty correct this?
Yeah, so that is going to be by MLS, essentially. So just to kind of explain further, with Lofty, like we try to include as many pieces of criteria as possible. Obviously, every MLS is different and how people search is going to be different. So bungalow isn't a default option that we normally have. However, we can absolutely add that in very easy. And we've done so previously all the time. So whether that's going to be a permanent piece of criteria that's going to be implemented, unsure. I can definitely get with the product team on that, but it can absolutely be added in when requested.
Awesome, thank you. There was another question here about smart plans that says, do smart plans allow us to embed videos?
Yes. So you can, well, let me kind of rephrase that. You can, in a sense. So we do have, inserting a YouTube video if you wanted to do a YouTube video or the BombBomb video. Now, if you were to want to embed your own video from like your file manager on your computer, for example, that's going to take a little bit more finessing on your end. And it's going to probably require utilizing the source option here, which is the coding option essentially. So, I mean, if you do plan on sending like a video over, I imagine it would probably be on a platform like YouTube or BombBomb or Vimeo or Facebook or something like that, which has their own embedded options that you can place directly into the email editor. So really, the only thing you can't do without like going through a whole lot of trouble is adding one directly from your computer at this time, at least.
Okay. Thank you. This one's
Yeah.
a little bit off topic from the smart plans, but Shelby asked, if I switch to Lofty, will my EXP domain stay the same? All of my marketing is pointing to that website. So it sounds like she'd be coming over from maybe like KV Core or another site or another CRM with her potential site. I can just say from a standpoint of the subdomains, Shelby, within Lofty, like I believe as far as your look and feel goes, what's EXP agents will have kind of standard with the CRM of choice is a subdomain. They have the ability to upgrade to an IDX, customized, more customized type of site. But ultimately, as far as the domain goes, Lauren, as far as I understand, there would be some possible changes to that. Look and feel could stay the same, but the domain, like itself, URL would change as far as I understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately going to be dependent on, I guess, the setup that's going on. So, I mean, from a company level, starting with EXP, then yes, that would be like a subdomain. It would be shelby.exp.com, as an example. From an office level, it's going to be whatever, like if that office has a separate domain, maybe it's like, EXP Phoenix or something, then that would be, shelby.expphoenix.com. Now, if you're referring to maybe your page that you have, just because I've had a lot of people confuse like the page that they have on their brokerage website with an actual domain. For example, exp.com / Lauren Donlevy. I've had someone try to say like, oh, this is my domain. That's not going to be an actual domain. The domain itself would be exp.com. So just to kind of clarify and clear that up, I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. But yes, I mean, we do have options for you to implement your own vanity domain. Only if you were to have a completely separate like agent website that's not piggybacking off of the office or company website itself. Does that make sense? It's probably going to make a lot more sense once you you have your onboarding specialist, what the setup is, and they can kind of advise you from there.
Yeah. Perfect. Are the Lofty Smart Plans sent from our actual emails or a different email?
They can be sent from both. So the answer is both. So with the sending email that we have, so going into email here. So there is this default sending email that we have, which is a mail.lofty.me email address. However, you can configure that to be whatever your domain is, whatever sending email domain you're already using. So you do have that option to configure it to that vanity domain if you'd like.
Perfect. Someone's asking, do emails from Lofty go to spam? A question from Doug Morrow.
Yeah, I mean, that is going to be, there's a lot of nuance when it comes to that question because it's going to be dependent on who you're sending it to. So, what email character, are they using? Are they using Gmail? Are they using Outlook? Are they using, whatever? I will say that configuring the sending email domain in this case does help immensely just because it's not a multi-step domain like, mail.lofty.me or whatever. So it does help. Um, I haven't had too much feedback regarding Lofty emails, branded or not, going into spam folders. It does happen very so often, but again, it's going to be kind of contingent on a few things.
Okay, no, perfect. I agree. It's a little bit nuanced, but the sending domain portion I think was a good thing to touch on.
Absolutely.
Nick, he says, Wilson, is there a way to set up searches for our clients that include more than one town within the same search?
Yes, absolutely. You could put however many cities, neighborhoods, subdivisions, what have you, as you like within a single search. But if you do want to break them out, you can also create multiple different searches for a single lead.
Perfect. Here's one as well. It says, if a contact sends an email directly to our email account inbox, will it be added to their timeline within Lofty? I don't know if that's
Can,
more. Yeah,
can you repeat that question?
yeah, no problem. It says, if a contact sends an email directly to our email account inbox, will it be added to their timeline within Lofty?
Yeah, I mean, if a lead were to reach out to the same email that you have integrated within Lofty, then yes, that's going to be included in their activities, in their general history of outreach and inbound, things like that. Um, it's if they were to just like reach out in general, like not already being an existing lead. So just to kind of cover like the whole email integration thing, because I've had a lot of people think like, oh, are you just going to be integrating, all the emails in my inbox? The answer is no. It's going to take, we do read like email headers, some backend information in those emails to determine what is a lead and what is not, So if they don't already exist within Lofty or have any sort of activity from the website and they email you randomly, we may or may not pick up on that depending. But if they do already exist within Lofty and they reach out to you just randomly via email, then yes, that'll be tracked.
Perfect. Give me
I'm not
just a
sure if
sec.
you I'm not sure if you have more information to add to that.
No, give me 1 second. I had a little issue with I lost access to the chat for just a second, but I'm back in there.
Yeah, no worries.
Lauren, are you there? I seem to lost audio for a second.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I apologize. I think I lost audio on the stream for just a second, but
No
I think
problem.
that's most of the questions. Drop in the chat here, just an FAQ for some of the folks, as well as they're asking some of the questions they're asking about. We can get a list of what's included in the CRM of choice and what upgrade options are and costs are. We should have some more communication coming out soon from the EXP side, Lofty side, around that. But this FAQ that I'm putting in the chat is something that EXP agents can look at as well. There's a number of just specific frequently asked questions around the CRM of choice portion. There's one quick question as well. Can you clarify if you get a separate smart number to dial from directly within Lofty, or is it integrated with our existing phone number?
I'm so sorry. You kind of cut out when you said that. Can you repeat that question?
Oh, I'm sorry. It says, can you clarify if you get a separate smart number to dial from directly within Lofty, or is it integrated with our existing phone number?
So that's going to be kind of dependent. Is your existing phone number from another CRM? Like, is that also another virtual number? Because if it is, we can port that number directly into Lofty. So that way, it stays consistent. You don't have to get a new one or anything like that. Otherwise, yes, included in your package is going to be a virtual number that's going to be essentially marrying your own personal device to Lofty to track any of that information.
Perfect. Let me see here. I think I got another.
Yeah, really. Guys, if you have any questions, I mean, we have like 9 minutes of time left. So feel free to ask any questions, even if it's not smart plan related, happy to answer anything.
Raul just said, does Lofty have market reports that can be sent out to contacts?
Absolutely. That is also going to be in that same, I'm sorry, not in the marketing tab. That's actually going to be directly on a lead profile here. Leads can also look at that themselves directly on, the Lofty IDX website. But under engagement, we have market snapshots and market reports. And just to kind of clarify the difference between the two, Market snapshots can be sent at more smaller intervals, like weekly, monthly, sometimes even daily. Whereas the market report is going to be kind of an aggregate of all that data. So it's going to be sent on like a monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, annually, basis, depending on the information that, that lead is looking for.
Perfect. Can our calls from Lofty show our cell number instead of a smart generated number?
Yes, you can. Let me see if I can actually do that in here. Yes, you can have your displayed caller and sender ID. So you can add numbers. You can verify, an existing number. So you can change your displayed caller and sender ID as well as your text ID if you want those to be different. I'm not sure what the default is going to be for the EXP package. I'm sure you could speak on that more later, but generally, yes, you can change your displayed caller and sender ID.
Yeah, I think it's going to work standard for them. I think some
Got
of
it.
that to be determined once the full launch happens. But yeah, I believe, or right before, like some of that stuff's still being ironed out as far as the communication being sent out to EXP agents, but it'll be ready to go by launch on July 6th for all EXP agents. So
got it.
Here's one from, is there a way to have more than one phone number and address for a person with the option to mark one as the primary?
Yes. I have had leads that have had like 7 different emails associated with them. We'll just look at Lofty Guide here.
Okay.
But yeah, you can add in additional numbers and emails if you'd like. There is just a plus sign like right next to that lead profile. You can also input a couple of other pieces of information. Like if you've actually talked to them on it, then you know it's valid. If it's a bad number, anything like that. And then you could add in the number description if you'd like as well. Same thing with email. But yeah, there's not, as far as I know, there's not any sort of limit on how many numbers or how many emails can be associated with a lead.
Perfect. Thank you. Just 1 second here. I don't think we have any new questions. Looks like there's some people typing. So give me 1 second. Just respond.
No problem.
Yeah. See. When making a flyer, does Lofty pull info from my listing and auto-populate text and photos from the MLS?
It can. So that would be more so if you were to create that within the design center. Because we do have one, I mean, you could input brand kit, so you can have a lot of default information propagate directly to, whatever piece of material you're working with. But we do have different design templates that say, okay, I'm adding in a property. What property is it? And then it'll propagate photos, all of that other information directly into a flyer, newsletter, what have you, that you're working with.
Perfect. Nikki says, is it possible for it to integrate directly with MailChimp, Luxury Presence, and RegFox?
MailChimp, absolutely. I know that off the top of my head. So we're going to go
sure.
to our...
Go ahead. Sorry. I would say MailChimp.
Oh,
yeah, I would say I'm certain of MailChimp. I think Luxury Presence is a go as well, but were you going to just take them over to integrations and show that?
Yeah, I was just going to pop over to integration. So here's our MailChimp integration. It's just one click login and then you're connected. So super easy. Luxury Presence, I think, is in our I think that's going to be an API integration, but we've integrated with Luxury Presence websites previously. The last one is going to probably be, I'm not familiar with that last program. Is that just like a lead source, like a lead generator, or is that another third party kind of tech?
RegFox, I'm not familiar with. And it's not in our integrations there. So I think it would, like you said, require probably for now, like API or like Zapier integration or something.
Right. So, I mean, even if we don't have an integration on our integration list directly as just a one click, chances are we probably can via a Zap connection or just a general API connection. That's something that we can definitely go into further detail once, you're actually assigned your onboarding specialist and are on a phone call with them. They can go over that more in depth with you.
Definitely. I think we have time for one more question as regards to when you text someone individually, is there a character number limit, a limit of like characters allowed in the text?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on that during the smart plan section here, but we do have a character limit technically set. Just because, again, there are some devices floating out there still that have that character limit, that 160 character limit. But if you were, oh, of course, let me go back to our smart plan section. So, but if I were to, yeah, you can see here. If I were to send a text though to someone that I know has like an iPhone or an Android, it's still just going to be sent as one text. We just put this here just to let you know, like, hey, here's the character limit, so that in the event where you're like, what the heck, why did my text get split up? That's why, because it's probably being sent to a device that doesn't support those unlimited characters.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, Nancy, I think you've asked this question a few times. I apologize. I don't have the direct number for you on that, but you will have she's just asking in regards to vanity domains. With the with the EXP launch for Lofty, you'll have the standard subdomain included with your account. And then for the upcharge to a vanity domain, I have to get some clarity around that. I believe there's going to be documentation sent out to you guys before opting in, before the go live launch date. But I don't have that figure. I know you've mentioned the $11 per month for KV Core's vanity domain. And then Nikki asks, is there a way to import our notes from KV Core so we don't lose any information on past clients or leads?
Yes, absolutely. In the lead import section, so when you actually do your lead import, I'm just going to do like a mock one here, not anything super wild. So once you actually, oh, goodness. Don't mind me. Sure. Okay. So in your second step of matching your columns, just to make sure that, you know, the right data is getting put into the right place, there is an option to import as a note. So if you do have any notations that you don't want necessarily to live in like a custom field formally, you could import anything as a notation and then pin that to the top of your lead profile if you'd like. But yeah, you could pretty much import anything as a note if you'd like, or you can create a formal place for it to live via a custom field. Entirely up to you.
Perfect. Well, we are right at the top of the hour. I do appreciate, Lauren, you joining me, going through smart plans, helping answer these questions. It was a phenomenal walkthrough and training. So thank you so much for joining and for taking these EXP agents through this. Guys, more to come. We'll be getting more into features and specific functionality next week with you guys in regards to the CRM of choice launch. And Monday likely will be kind of more of just a why choose Lofty, kind of similar to this past Monday. Next week, we'll probably touch a little bit on smart plans, but it'll just kind of be more overview as well on some of the CRM settings. So I do really appreciate it again, Lauren. Thank you so much. And thank you, EXP agents, for joining. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.